Well, those are live pictures from some of the major city roads in Nairobi as city dwellers try to beat the 8 p.m. curfew following last evening's confusion as police blocked major roads in the city. The citywide implementation of the curfew orders saw hundreds of Kenyans stranded, stalling the operations of some of the critical care providers, including ambulances. And the police now say this will be the new normal. Good evening and thank you for choosing TV47 Weekend to inform you. My name is Musa Salah. Coming up in the next 60 minutes.
Mashari ama Magda?
Tonight.
Saa ya kafyu, si mnajua? Kuanzia saa 2. Sasa watu wasikae tu fua. Ni kama hawajui kwamba kuna maneno ya kafyu. Watu wawe nyumbani by saa 2. Kwisha.
Police say they are not relenting in implementing the COVID-19 containment measures. Hundreds were stranded along major city roads as police blocked the roads after 8 p.m. last evening. Marathon world record holder Eliud Kipchoge wins the NN Mission Marathon at the 20 airport in the Netherlands. They are suspected of stealing or they ate grass.
Anza kula jana kisha baadaye wakaishiwa na nguvu kisha baadaye wakalala kama mtu ambaye amekufa lakini wanabeba mikono juu.
Two theft suspects eat grass in Shinyalu, Kakamega in a dramatic incident. And the search for the country's next CJ resumes tomorrow. Justice Nduma Nderi will be facing the JSC panel. Welcome to the broadcast. Anu Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. TV47 Weekend begins right now. The Ministry of Interior and Coordination of the National Government now says it has noted that compliance to the stipulated COVID-19 containment measures is below 50% in the Nairobi metropolitan area. This comes after thousands of motorists were caught up in a traffic snarl-up past curfew hours as police mounted roadblocks in major roads to enforce the 8 p.m. curfew in Nairobi last evening.
Moments after 8 p.m. on Saturday night, social media was awash with images and amateur videos of hundreds of Nairobi motorists stuck in traffic as police officers mounted roadblocks on major roads to enforce the 8 p.m. curfew in the capital. The Kasupa Highway ostensibly bore the brunt of this police operation. Those caught up in the snarl-up retorted to engaging the police officers through blaring sirens and horns, but all fell into deaf ears. The police were adamant that the motorists would spend in the cold until 4 a.m. when the curfew hours elapsed. Eventually, they were released to go home after hours of uncertainty.
How long have you been here?
2 hours.
2 hours?
Yes.
And you're taking the baby to the hospital?
Yes.
Poleni sana.
Asante.
According to Kasarani OCPD, who led operation on Thika Road, the operation would continue with no one being spared after hours. Essential services providers caught up in the melee were collateral damages, according to police officers.
Watu wawe nyumbani by saa 2. Kwisha. Wale wako na pass tunawaruhusu, wale kuna essential service wanarupita. Lakini mtu ametoka kwa ulevi. Ametoka kwa ulevi. Magari kama haya ni ya ulevi haya.
In a statement released by the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government through the Office of Nairobi Regional Commissioner James Kianda, stringent measures such as those imposed yesterday are imperative for the survival of every Kenyan, but civic responsibility is a more potent weapon in the war against COVID-19 than enforcement from police officers. Promising more police action, Kianda has said traffic management within Nairobi metropolitan area will be reviewed to facilitate smooth transition into curfew hours. Kenyans have also been asked to plan their movement accordingly in a bid to beat curfew hours. Government spokesperson retired Colonel Cyrus Oguna through a tweet says observing containment measures include strictly respecting the curfew time, which starts at 8 p.m. for the zoned areas of Nairobi, Kiambu, Machakos, Kajiado and Nakuru, and 10 p.m. for the rest of the country. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, with the increasing zeal by Kenyans to receive COVID-19 vaccine, the Ministry of Health has clarified the variance of the number of doses administered in some counties. This, as the world's largest COVID-19 vaccine producer, India, says it is facing a shortage of the vaccine due to high number of infections that it is facing. Mudhoni Maina reports.
The vaccination process in Nyeri County continues to raise an eyebrow over the numbers recorded to have received the vaccine. Nyeri County is reported to have received 23,500 Covishield vaccine doses and had managed to vaccinate 23,733 people by close of business Thursday. According to the National COVID-19 Task Force on Vaccine Deployment and Vaccination, some manufacturers include some overage or extra quantity in a vial to cater for losses when vaccines are being drawn into syringes. This depends on the type of syringes used, as the remaining quantity may yield 1 or 2 extra doses. In a statement, the task force says the development has also been observed in other countries conducting COVID-19 vaccination, such as the United States of America, due to the use of loaded volume syringes. Moreover, a follow-up at one facility in Kenya found that at least 1 extra dose could be extracted from a vial. The country is targeting an average wastage rate of 10% or less to cater for both areas with low wastage and those with high wastage, as it is expected to vary. The task force, however, says that health workers are expected to strictly follow guidelines on use of the vaccines, including the time of discard after opening during vaccination. Over 651,650 people have already received the Covishield vaccine in the country since the exercise kicked off over a month ago. Those aged above 58 years constitute the bulk of those who have received the jab, with over 365,000 of those within the age bracket already vaccinated. Over 136,000 of those vaccinated are healthcare workers. Over 97,700 are teachers, while 52,602 are security officers. Men continue to exhibit greater penchant than women in being vaccinated against COVID-19, constituting 56% of those vaccinated. Nairobi County has utilized the highest number of doses, with 284,500 distributed doses, with close to 208,000 persons already vaccinated. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health has recorded a total of 366 new COVID-19 cases, tallying to a total of 151,653 nationwide. With high expectations of the second dose, India is currently running out of COVID jabs in global supplies amidst the soaring wave. India is also expected to restrict further exports. Mudhoni Maina, TV47.
Now, high cost of living, unemployment, and the inability by the government to handle the COVID-19 pandemic are the top 3 reasons why Kenyans feel that the country is heading in the wrong direction. At least 65% of Kenyans feel the country is heading in the wrong direction, citing the poor state of the economy, poor governance, and the COVID-19 pandemic, as Ruth Mulandi now reports.
For the past 13 months since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the country, life for many Kenyans changed for the worst. Businesses were forced to shut down. Others received pay cuts, as some were forced with the ugly reality of unemployment. With the tough times now being faced, 65% of Kenyans feel that the country is heading in the wrong direction. In a research done by Infotrack research firm, from a sample size of 1,000 respondents conducted between 13th to 16th March 2021 showed that 34% attribute the high cost of living, unemployment, the COVID-19 pandemic, bad politics and rampant corruption at 34%, 17%, 11%, 8% and 7% respectively as the top 5 reasons why the country wasn't doing well. 58% of Kenyans say the economy was the biggest indication of the country's poor score, with poor governance following at 15%.
From what we are seeing from these poll findings, that it's Kenyans' hope that government would actually rethink tax relief measures, both on an individual basis and also for the businesses in the country, so that they can actually, get on with doing business and spurring economic growth and creating employment.
The COVID-19 pandemic and its continuous third wave in the country was also a key concern for Kenyans. Last year, at a time like this, majority of Kenyans at 64% felt that the infections were both a personal health and a personal finance issue, whereas now viewed it is more of a personal financial problem, as at 62% felt the pinch brought by the pandemic. This pinch further highlighting that 77% of Kenyans' livelihoods had been affected. Of those, 32% say their business had been adversely affected. A further 28% said they no longer have an income as they had lost their jobs entirely when the country was placed under shutdown. 17% said their salaries had been reduced and 6% were unable to cater for their basic needs. The research done right before President Uhuru Kenyatta made his 15th State of the Nation address on the COVID-19 situation in the country revealed that 65% of Kenyans supported the extension of the nationwide curfew for an additional 60 days. A large number of 88% of the sample size supported the ban on public gatherings, with 82% requesting the health and transport ministries to revise their protocols for the public transport sector. It is on that same breath that the J Networks Group, a group of informal employment sector representatives, are calling on the government to take seriously the cries of ordinary Kenyans and open up the economy, further urging the government to allow private sectors that can afford to buy vaccines of their choice to do so and vaccinate their workers for businesses to resume, saying flattening the COVID-19 curve is uncertain. Ruth Mulandi, TV47.
Well, it seems Kenyans are unhappy with the state of affairs in the country. Thank you, Ruth Mulandi, for that report. Now, Gotv Secretary General Francis Atwoli hosted Minority Leader Junet Mohamed, Jubilee Vice Chairman David Murathe, former Gatanga Member of Parliament Peter Kenneth, Siaya Senator James Orengo, and CS Raphael Tuju at his Ildamat home in Kajiado County. Atwoli says the meeting was a consultative political meeting coming amid claims that Parliament is set to meet next week to finalize on the BBI report. The House leadership is set to meet to conclude its report on the 2020 Constitutional Amendment Bill. Well, let's switch gears to a rather bizarre incident. Residents of Bunyoro village, Shinyalu sub-county in Kakamega County were treated to a rare event after two men suspected to have stolen from their employer turned dumb and started eating grass. The two were later arrested and will be arraigned in court tomorrow.
Residents of Bunyoro village, Shinyalu sub-county, Kakamega County were treated to a rare event when two men alleged to have stolen from their employer, turned dumb and herbivorous and started eating grass. It's alleged that their employer, a widow, got tired of endless theft of livestock on her farm after she again lost her pigs, goats and a cat.
Kuna mfanyikazi wa hii boma na jamaa mwingine walipatikana hapa kama wamefeind, wako unconscious, hawajitambui. Mmoja alikuwa ameanguka kule chini, mwingine kwa sitting room.
Nikasema tutafute watu wakukuja kujulia sisi nguruwe iko wapi. Sikutaka kwa polisi, niona tu tafadhali huyu mtu anijulia haraka kama nguruwe bado iko ipatikane. Alafu daktari akafika mahali akawauliza, akasema wakushika nguruwe. Ndio tukasema, akasema sasa wacha nifanye kazi, ndio akafanya kazi yake.
This time opting not to report to police, who she accused of releasing the culprits days after the arrest.
Ni leo sitatumia koti sasa. Ni heri niende nitumie shortcut, yani African science, ili nikapate yule ambaye ametekeleza kitendo hiki. Sasa yule mama alienda kutafuta an African scientist.
Alijuna tu sababu akapiga akatuanga akaweka maji tukakunywa. Mimi sikuona kitu kingine. Hata mimi pia nilikunywa, hata msherehe hapa alikunywa. Ikakuwa tu hivyo. Mimi kukaa hapa daktari anadoka, ndio wananiambia mmoja ameanza kuanguka huko.
The lady allegedly got some concussion, was taken by all the 20 family members before the two turned dumb and started eating grass. The two men were later locked in a house before their arrest.
Kama watu ambao wajitambui ni kama wazimu, wanabehave kama watu ambao wako abnormal.
Well, it's time to take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Remember, you can follow this live broadcast on www.tv47.co.ke.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pamoja ili uongeze zaidi, utume SMS zaidi na ubrowse zaidi.
Wewe usijali. Tuma namba ya kila supplier kwa hiyo soko. Nitajua nitaongea na kila mmoja wao.
Very good. Piga *444# utunukiwe Credo double.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku.
Welcome to Nairobi Christian Center Bahati. We are an Assemblies of God Church under Reverend Fred Gitahi as a senior pastor. We are located at Bahati, Makadara area in Nairobi. We run a virtual church service with online services every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. as well as the children's services from 10 a.m., teens and youth services every Saturday at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. respectively. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Nairobi Christian Center Bahati, and on YouTube Nairobi Christian Center. Be blessed.
On the next episode of The Cook-Off Show with Alex Karani.
Welcome to my show. This is the cooking show where we just
come slowly. Enyewe walisema ukweli. Enyewe wanawake wanakuwa na maneno mingi. Sasa umeanza busi, umeanza kisho ya busi. Kwani yule busi de yule busi de. You ready?
Wait a minute. Mimi uliniambia nikuja nichemshe kichwa busi alafu mnanipatia hizi vitu gumu na kwa kitu ya maana nafanyaga nini?
Shika hapa. Shika hapa.
Unadhani nitaweza kumultitask?
Siwe tunasikia kama demo multitask.
Mimi sio madem.
Saveri. Ni chita kweli?
Ni kama gadongoro yame.
From a distance.
Don't. Please. We were acting. Wacha mimi niendelea kukula.
Wewe endelea tu kukula, mimi nishamaliza.
Endelea kuongea. Mimi unajua kukula ndio ilikuwa imenileta. Niliwaambia welcome to my shop where we just eat. Cooking is none of my business.
Welcome back. You're watching TV47 Weekend. Keep talking to us. Our SMS line is 22047. You can also find us on social media at TV47 Kenya on Facebook, as well as at TV47K on Twitter. The hashtag to use is TV47 Weekend. Now, the search for Kenya's next Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court is expected to continue tomorrow. The Judicial Service Commission JSC panel took a weekend off from a week-long interview that saw 5 candidates defend their application to succeed retired Chief Justice David Maraga. 5 more applicants will meet the JSC panel tomorrow as the search for Chief Justice gains momentum, with more drama and face-offs expected during the sittings. The search for Kenya's next Chief Justice enters its home stretch on Monday, with Justice Ndumanderi's day to the Judicial Service Commission JSC panel expected to begin at 9 a.m. at the Supreme Court Gardens in Nairobi.
As precisely as possible, Your Honor.
Nderi is the 6th on the JSC list, the commission having interviewed Justices Juma Said Chitembwe, Martha Koome, Marete Njagi, and Professor Patricia Mbote, and Senior Counsel Philip Murgor last week. Born in Kiambu County, Justice Nderi is an alumnus of Nairobi School and was admitted to the bar as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya in December 1988 after graduating from the University of Nairobi with a law degree in 1987 and a diploma in law from the Kenya School of Law in 1988. He also holds a master's degree in international trade law from the University of Stellenbosch in South Africa. Having majored in commercial arbitration, coupled with his over 31 years of experience under his belt, saw him appointed as judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Court in 2012. Nderi is 13 years in Swaziland as a senior crown counsel in the Ministry of Swaziland, and president of the Swaziland Industrial Court also sets him apart from the crowd. His pro-workers rulings are also expected to form the discussion in his interview tomorrow. In one of his rulings last year, Justice Nderi said that it is unlawful to terminate the employment of a house help without giving her a notice. He also added that it is illegal and unfair labor practice to send a house help away without paying her any terminal benefits and not giving her a certificate of service. But with many calling him a judge with a heart for oppressed workers, Justice Nderi's most famous defense of workers was in a 30th June 2015 judgment when he awarded teachers a 50 to 60% increment on their basic salary. For the next few months, he would be the darling of the teaching fraternity. However, his famous ruling is not part of the 5 sample writings Justice Nderia submitted to the JSC to be considered in his application.
Just very briefly, and then we'll continue.
Within 4 months of the decision, 5 Court of Appeal judges had torn his legal reasoning to shreds, faulting his fidelity to procedure, accusing him of encouraging litigants to commit offences. Lady Justice Martha Koome, who was interviewed for the position last week, also faulted Nderia's ruling, saying he was in a hurry to finalize the matter and resolve the dispute expeditiously. She also noted that the salary increase could not stand the test of law and the Constitution. Senior counsel Fred Ngatia is also eyeing the CJ position. Born 64 years ago in Laikipia County, Ngatia holds 2 master's degrees and an aggregate of 41 years experience in the legal profession. Ngatia's landmark case at the Supreme Court in 2018, which led to the abolishment of mandatory death sentence, rescued over 4,000 prisoners facing death sentences.
Page 116.
It is this fierce Supreme Court battle that saw him ranked one of the best dispute resolution lawyers in the country. Should he be successful in the interview, Ngatia will become the second CJ to be appointed from outside the judiciary after retired CJ Dr. Willy Mutunga. However, his advocate-client relationship with acting CJ Philomena Mwilu, who is also a commissioner in the JSC, has been questioned, with senior counsel Philip Murgor, who closed the first round of interviews last week, claiming that Mwilu may favor Ngatia in the search for the next CJ.
My name is William Ouko. I am a judge of the Court of Appeal.
Born in 1961 in Siaya County, Justice William Ouko was appointed President of the Court of Appeal in 2018, having served as Judge of the High Court between 2004 to 2012, before he was promoted to a Judge of the Court of Appeal in 2012. His over 33 years of experience in law gives him an edge over the rest of the candidates. Being the only applicant with the most extensive court experience, Justice William Ouko will face the JSC commissioners on Wednesday. In his 33 years of legal practice, Ouko has served as the Joint Secretary of the Goldenberg Commission of Inquiry, where he is remembered for his deadly efficiency, which has over time earned him the highest service honors in the country, the Elder of the Burning Spear and the Chief of the Burning Spear. But his imprimatur on the judiciary is the report of the task force on judiciary reforms that he co-chaired with Nyamira Senator Okongo Omogeni. Many of the recommendations in the report which bears his name were included in the 2010 Constitution, including the expansion of the representation of the JSC to include the Supreme Court, the Law Society of Kenya, and the Kenya Judges and Magistrates Association. The Ouko report, which is the most comprehensive blueprint for change in the judiciary, also proposed the introduction of performance management in the judiciary, alongside a ring-fenced financial allocation of at least 2.5% of the annual national budget. Professor Moni Wekesa will be next on the line on Thursday as the JSC prepares to conclude the interviews. Born in 1959 in Kakamega County, Wekesa is a double doctor of law and sports medicine with at least 16 years in the legal field. But his interest in sports medicine could jeopardize his hopes of becoming Kenya's next Chief Justice. The Kenya Rugby Union has written to the GSC, faulting Professor Wekesa's report on doping among Kenyan players that cast the country's best internationally performing ball sport in a bad light. An independent investigation by World Rugby in March 2016 laid to rest allegations that there was a systematic doping of Kenyan players through food supplements. The allegation first surfaced in a 2014 report prepared by a committee under the chairmanship of Professor Moni Wekesa. In the letter, Kenya Rugby Union Chairman Odur Gangla told JSC that the Wekesa committee reached summary judgments and conclusions without giving senior coaches an opportunity to explain themselves, and that it refused to follow the procedure, instead preferring hearsay, and that it treated the sport causally. His academic counterpart Alice Jepkoech Yano closes the list of the shortlisted candidates for the position, appearing before the commission on Friday. Born in 1968 in Elgeyo Marakwet, Yano is the youngest of the applicants. She was selected as one of the 15 members of the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission in 2001. But allegations that she is not a team player could be her greatest misdoing in the race to succeed retired Justice Maraga. It is alleged that Yano quickly established her reputation as a divisive figure early in the Constitution review process, leading a delegation of 10 members of the commission to secretly meet the late retired President Daniel Moi in a move that threatened to split the review team in the middle. Professor Yash Palgai, who had been named the chairman of the commission, was negotiating to bring the Parallel People's Commission of Kenya, also known as the Ufungamano Initiative, into the same tent as the parliamentary process, raising fears that the ruling party would lose control of the constitutional review process. The two commissions were later merged, bringing the total number of members to 27. The JSC will vote and nominate the most qualified applicants in 7 days after concluding the interviews. The commission will then forward the names of the nominees recommended for appointment to the president, after which the president will present the names to parliament for vetting. After the vetting, which will take approximately 28 days, Parliament's resolution on the candidate will be presented to the president for appointment before the new CJ's name is gazetted and sworn in. To take another short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pamoja ili uongeze zaidi, utume SMS zaidi na ubrowse zaidi.
Wewe usijali. Tuma namba ya kila supplier kwa hiyo soko. Nitajua nitaongea na kila mmoja wao.
Very good. Piga *444 hash utunukiwe Credo double.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku.
Welcome to Nairobi Christian Center Bahati. We are an Assemblies of God Church under Reverend Fred Gitahi as a senior pastor. We are located at Bahati, Makadara area in Nairobi. We run a virtual church service with online services every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. as well as the children's services from 10 a.m., teens and youth services every Saturday at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. respectively. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Nairobi Christian Center Bahati and on YouTube Nairobi Christian Center. Be blessed.
On the next episode of The Cook of Show with Alex Karani.
Welcome to my show. This is the cooking show where we just
come slowly. Enyewe walisema ukweli. Enyewe wanawake wanakuwa na maneno mingi. Sasa umeanza busi, umeanza kisho ya busi. Kwani yule busi de. You ready?
Wait a minute. Mimi uliniambia nikuja nichemshe kichwa busi alafu mnanipatia hizi vitu gumu na kwa kitu ya maana ninafanyaga nini?
Shika hapa.
Unadhani nitaweza kumultitask?
Siwe tunasikia mademu multitask.
Mimi sio mademu.
Saveri. Ni chita kweli?
Ni kama gadongoro yawe.
From a distance.
I don't. Please. We were acting. Wacha mimi niendelea kukula.
Wewe endelea tu kukula, mimi nishamaliza.
Endelea kuongea. Mimi unajua kukula ndio ilikuwa imenileta. Niliwaambia welcome to my shop where we just eat. Cooking is none of my business.
People to see farming as a possibility and not as impossibility. You don't concentrate your energy, your efforts into one section of the farm. We enrich our soil so that we can produce more healthy crops which are naturally good for the people.
Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m. Next episode of Coffee with the Movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I have...
Welcome back. You're watching TV47 Weekend, and just to sample some of your comments on Facebook, Paul Ngugi, watching us from Kitale Chepkoyo, says niko ndani kama kawaida. Thank you, Paul. Eunice Adhiambo is also tuned in, as well as Seth Kavogi, who is watching us from Kisumu. Keep talking to us. Our SMS line is 22047. You can also find us on social media at TV47 Kenya on Facebook, as well as at TV47KE on Twitter. The hashtag to use is TV47 Weekend. Now, international students in the country are appealing to the government to allow them to have work permits so that they can be in a position to sustain themselves during this time when their guardians are affected by the global pandemic. In the meantime, the students also want their embassies to be checking up on them from time to time. The students spoke to our Senior Education Affairs reporter, Sharon Baranga.
My name is Alex Liluka. I come from Zambia. I'm a student at KCA. I'm pursuing a diploma in counseling psychology. This is my first year. I used to go to the main campus before everything was closed up recently, like 2 weeks ago. So, but currently we're doing online classes for now. So you just have to juggle, schedule yourself. I chose to come to Kenya because I wanted to build my CV. It's one of the things that I really wanted. And studying abroad would open up a lot of opportunities for me. I was actually worried about my brother because I only have one brother. He's actually older than me. So when the pandemic started, he was the first person that came into my mind. I was like, oh, my brother. Because we just lived the two of us. So like, oh, my brother, how does he cope with this? So, and that time he got sick. So I was really, really, really stressed about it. Like, my brother is sick, so who is going to take care of him? I didn't know what's going to happen because you never expect what was going to happen. So, like today, you find that you're hanging out with your friend. Tomorrow, you find out, oh, they've passed on, they had COVID. So it really challenged me. Yes, I'm totally dependent on my family. So one thing that I would tell you is when COVID started, I had to plan on how to spend my expenses because I realized most people don't go for work. People must have lost their jobs because of COVID. So I looked back at my family. I was like, oh, if with this pandemic, so meaning I just have to plan myself financially and make myself financially disciplined. So when COVID started, I had bought groceries in bulk because I thought, oh, maybe I might not go out. Oh, maybe I might go home. So I was kind of like debating on what to do. So what I did was I planned myself. I was like, with the money that I get from home, let me just buy groceries that are going to last me up to this time. And so when I get another funds from home, I'll still plan ahead. So that's what I did initially. Yeah, like it's really, really hard for some reason. You know, like we've closed the trimester so far. So I cannot travel back home because I'm scared if I go back home, I can get COVID or something. Or let me just stay, since we're just closed for 2 weeks, so let me just stay home. So to start with the pandemic, at first I was really stressed about it because each and everyone had their own assumptions about it. they would tell you, no, it stays in the air for 8 hours. So if you go out there, you're going to get it, blah, blah. So I was really stressed about it. And I was like, oh, I'm far away from home. What if anything happens? Who is going to be there for me? So it really affected me psychologically.
In another part of town,
I'm Hussein Mohammed. I'm from Somali, Mogadishu. I study Bachelor of Science in Software Development in KC University as an international student. Lecturers communicate students through Zoom and WhatsApp as well. If there is something issue of coursework, if there is like an exam or task that is going to be done and it's an urgent, lecturers communicate through class reps and they will be posting it on the WhatsApp. The restrictions and lockdowns in the countries are being communicated and being imposed immediately. They take effect within 1 day to 2 days, where students even cannot go back to their home countries because even it requires some preparation. You have to prepare your tickets. If your visa is expired, you have to take your visas and you validate your visas through the immigration office, and that requires a process. Some of us cannot work, but then once you are locked down, you need also to survive. You need finances. You need a place to stay. You need, everything. It extended, despite the finances you have and everything, challenges you go through. You have to go through because you should always have a backup support. Because I'm totally dependent on my parents because I cannot work. I don't have a work permit. I'm not allowed to work, even though companies will employ me. Even if I finish my studies, I have to work. I have to apply work permit. Currently, I'm here as a student, as an international student, and I stay here with my student pass.
some of the student leaders from different universities in the country started a campaign dubbed Me to You to help raise funds for international students who are struggling.
The government under close scrutiny, they can make some leeway and allow students to do some hustles while in here and try to support themselves. Schools can try to create international business centers. You know, for example, we have like the Chinese, they do have their international business center here. We can also have ours. Schools like UN, institutions like MKU, KCA, they can have their business centers whereby students can showcase their culture and sell.
For this, we've started a campaign, Me to You campaign. So far, we've reached out to more than 15 international students. We are reaching out to them by giving them upkeep money. So far, we've managed to give upkeep money of 3,000 per international students for those we've reached out to.
Foreign embassies in Kenya is that it must be their state responsibilities, especially the ambassadors around, to look into it that students who stay in Kenya, especially the foreign students, their welfare is well taken care of. As you've heard from the students, the challenges of walking around looking for student passes, I believe just as the Ethiopian and Malawian, the Mozambique embassy does, the embassy should be walking around in this country and various institutions to look into the plight of these students, to ask where the problem lies and offer a possible solution. It shouldn't be the...
Sharon Baranga, TV47.
You know, when the embassies come in especially in matters permit, study permit and etc., it will be very easy when it comes to issuance because their documentation lies with the embassy.
Tough times indeed. You can imagine what foreign students in the country are going through during this pandemic. Now, moving on, Kenyans have been urged to stop the stigmatization of COVID-19 patients in a bid to enhance their recovery against the disease. Anglican Church in Nakuru Diocese Bishop Joseph Mushai noted that it was worrying that 1 year after the pandemic struck, stigma among patients has doubled. According to the cleric, being admitted and in isolation can be a very lonely experience, saying comforting messages can make the ordeal a little lighter. Moshaya added that stigma associated with the disease is often leaving patients and their families more traumatized than the disease itself.
Confirmed positive. Nikapelekwa hospitalini ambao nililazwa kwa muda wa wiki moja, na baada ya wiki moja nikafanywa test tena na nikaonekana nime improve sana, na juzi nimeangaliwa nikaonekana nimepona. So nashukuru Mungu. Na kitu ninawaambia Wakristo ni tuzidi kujichunga, hii ugonjwa iko. Na wakati wale watu ambao ni wagonjwa, Wakristo ni vizuri kujichunga zile jumbe ambao mnatumia watu, kwa sababu zingine zinaweka watu stigma. Mtu ukiwa hospitalini, ile message anataka ni message ya kumtia moyo na kumtia nguvu ili aweze kuendelea. Na kwa hivyo tusitumie watu message ambao ni za kuwavuja moyo. Ukianza kuambia mtu fulani amekufa, sijui imeenda aje, upatie huyo mtu matumaini. Na kazi yetu kama Wakristo ni kupatia watu wale wengine matumaini. So ni vizuri kabla hujatuma ujumbe uelewe maana ya ujumbe ile. Wengine wetu unapata ujumbe tu unasambaza, hata hujasoma kujua ujumbe ule unasema nini.
Residents of Bikeke village in Kiminini sub-county, Trans Nzoia County, are calling on the Independent Police Oversight Authority (IPOA) to investigate the death of their loved one who was found dead in unclear circumstances a few meters from Bikeke Police Station. Boniface Barasa has the details.
The lifeless body of Matayo Wekesa was this morning found a few meters from Bikeke Police Station, prompting the irate residents to protest the removal of the deceased from the scene. The deceased is believed to have been summoned to present himself at the police station to answer charges leveled against him after he was accused of stealing a barbed wire from the auntie's place.
Sasa mimi nilikuja hapa nikapata huyu askari anaitwa Wainaina. Kwanza kumweleza akaniambia enda utipiwe. Mimi nikaambia si kesi, nataka tu wanirutishie waya. Si ati namstaki. Hata ndio huyu amenifuata mpaka hapa. Na alifika tu na akalala hapo nje kwa post. Nikaandika statement na akaniambia wewe enda, huyu amelewa amelala, akiamka atatuonyesha waya mali iko. Alafu kesho ukujie waya, utapata waya yako. Mimi nikaenda nikamwacha amelala hapo nje, ni mzima tu. Sasa asubuhi napata ripoti ati amekufa.
Mara mwisho jana marehemu tulikuwa naye huko nyumbani. Alikuwa tu sawa kwamba japokuwa kulikuwa na mzozo kidogo tu, akakuja ku police station. Wenye alikuja hivi akabaki hapo akawa ametulia hapo hivi. Sasa leo asubuhi ndio nimepigiwa simu ati amekufa. Kwa polisi wamekata. Wao wanasema ati amekufia hapo nje, lakini kulingana vile naona amevurutwa. Hata ukiona venye amevurutwa kuna jiwe kutoka huko ndani ya police station. Na zile coins zinakuwa na kwa mfuko. Amevurutwa mpaka hapo hivyo.
The unfortunate event has raised so many questions on safety of the residents as the family calls for speedy investigation into the death. Local leaders have also called on the Independent Police Oversight Authority (IPOA) to investigate the murder.
Tunataka tuulize IPOA, Commissioner ya polisi, uchunguzi uweze kufanywa kudhibiti nini ambaye imeua kijana. Mbali na uchunguzi wa maaskari wa DCI wa Trans Nzoia, tunataka pia DCI kutoka Nairobi pia waingilie kati na ukweli uweze kupatikana.
Officers from Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI have already commenced the investigations. Boniface Barasa, TV47, Bikeke Police Station, Kiminini Constituency, Trans Nzoia County.
And maize and wheat farmers from North Rift region have been urged to venture into crop diversification to curb the effects of climate change. Speaking during the end of the tree planting week ceremony in Soi sub-county of Uasin Gishu County, the Kenya National Farmers Federation KENAF chairperson Ruth Maraba urged that due to unpredictable rain patterns in the country, the only way farmers will caution themselves from the effects of climate changes is to plant short-term crops which will help them solve the food insecurity in the country. More than 1,500 trees were planted during the exercise that brought together farmers from the region.
Yesi chache, vitu kama nyanya, vitu kama sweet potatoes, tupunguze mahindi. Sababu ni kama kazi ya mahindi, imekuwa kama kazi ya utumwa kwa mkulima, gharama iko juu na haina faida. So wakulima turudi, tuende drawing board, tutafute technical officers, tuone ni nini tutafanya.
Tumepewa miti, tumefurahi, tunasema ya kwamba nchi yetu hii ikipandwa miti ama sehemu hii yetu ya Lower Moibeni ikipandwa miti, tunaona tutapata mvua kwa sababu tunaona hali ya weather imebadilika, imekuwa mvua ipatikane sana, lakini nafurahi kwa sababu siku ya leo tumepata miti ambaye ni miche. Tutapanda miti hizo ili ituletee mvua na ituletee hewa safi tukiwa mazingara yetu. Pia itatuletea maji.
Tumehangaika tu sana, hata saizi ingekuwa mzimu tungekuwa tumeweka mahindi chini kupanda, lakini kwa sababu ya mvua na kwa sababu hatuna mti kwa wingi yenye inatusaidia kwa mvua, sasa ndio tumefurahi kwa siku ya leo kwa sababu tumepata miti yenye itaweza kutusaidia ikinawiri, tutaweza pata climate mzuri.
Well, let's now take a look at Kipchoge bouncing back. Now, marathon world record holder Eliud Kipchoge has won the NN Mission Marathon at the 20 airport in the Netherlands. The Olympic champion clocked an impressive 2 hours, 4 minutes and 30 seconds in the 40-kilometer race to get back to the winning ways. Kipchoge, who finished 8th at the London Marathon, the last marathon he took part in before the Sundays, used the NN Mission Marathon as preparations to defend the Olympic marathon title. Kipchoge's friend and training mate Jonathan Korir finished second in 2 hours, 6 minutes and 40 seconds. The NN Mission Marathon was initially set for Hamburg in Germany, but was moved to Enschede in the Netherlands following the third wave of COVID-19.
And he's back running fast. He's back on top. Eliud Kipchoge wins.
Wow, it's so great to see. He doesn't even look out of breath, does he? He was so well in control.
Absolutely, yes. NN Mission Marathon Hamburg is mission accomplished. Reason number one is that, let me say, actually, thank you